Hey everybody, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as a thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please leave a 5-star rating and review. Folks, let's kick it off with some Bitcoin metrics. So we continue to see different Bitcoin metrics are signaling that a reversal in the market is coming soon. Now, I know timing is the hard thing to predict, but we are at least using the data and not using our feelings or a gut feeling or emotions or whatever it may be. We're using the data, and that's how we want to operate as educated, informed investors. So the Bitcoin MVRV 2-year rolling score right now is at levels, or it's at the lowest level it has ever been. And we've seen when it has hit these levels that a major reversal is coming soon. So with sentiment in the dumps, people are depressed, they've given up. Many are very upset, right? There's a lot of anger, depression, fear, and much more. It's pretty bad, right? However, when we have these type of conditions along with the data, it means that reversal is coming. The big question, as I've been saying, though, is this just simply a relief rally that we're going to see come possibly Q1 2026 or the continuation of the bull market? Now, I've been leaning more towards the continuation of the bull market from a probability standpoint because of the macro factors. And I verified this MVRV score using Santiment, which is a partner of the channel. I usually have Brian from Santiment on where we go through the data. And right now, both the short-term and the long-term MVRV ratios are in a loss right now. So those traders, folks, and long-term holders are in the loss. So a reversal, I think, is coming. Remember, markets are cyclical, right? So we should expect to see a move upwards coming soon. We just got to be patient. And one thing that's very different this time around, guys, the common saying or the cliche saying we always hear every cycle is this time is different. Well, it is. For the first time ever, we have a red candle in the third year after the halving. Usually it's 3 green candles and then a red candle for the bear market. This time it's only been 2 green candles, so 2023 and 2024, and 2025 is closing with a red candle. So things are different. So the people who are saying this time is not different, it is. The cyclical pattern here has been broken. But it goes back to what I've been saying. I think it's more of the bull market extending. I don't believe this is, again, a deep bear market. I think that starts in 2026. The timing, we're going to have to wait and see. But I do believe the tariff crash that affected all markets at the beginning of the year prolonged the liquidity cycle. In addition, we had a very long period to recover. It took a while for markets to recover versus a usual cyclical pattern that after a Q4 rally, we have a correction and then late January, things start to creep up again. But this time around, it took longer than that. And that's why we saw Bitcoin hit a new all-time high in August when it's usually sell in May, go away. And again, I believe the timeline has been shifted. So I think we're going to see this bull market continue into 2026. That's not a guarantee. That's not a certainty. I know many of you want certainties, but no one has a crystal ball. So we want to at least use the data. And we've been seeing macro factors like what the Fed and the central banks are doing, returning to quantitative easing, in addition to rate cuts and liquidity continuing to rise. I think all of these things will drive asset prices higher. And I'm not the only one who believes that. Here's the headline: massive liquidity injections to boost Bitcoin price in 2026, crypto executive says. So Bill Barheit, who is the CEO of crypto exchange and wallet Abra, he said he expects a ton of liquidity injections from the US Federal Reserve next year as policymakers continue cutting interest rates, potentially reviving quantitative easing and boosting risk assets such as Bitcoin. Here's a quote: "We are seeing quantitative easing light right now." So we all know the Fed started QE again on December 12th, right? And he says here, the Fed is starting to buy its own bonds. I think demand for government debt is going to fall significantly next year along with lower rates. All of this bodes well for assets, including Bitcoin. So I absolutely agree with this thesis. Now, this is fact, right? This is what the Fed and the central banks are doing. So that's why I'm anticipating it. And the other major factor is the crypto market structure bill is expected to pass in early 2026. And that's a major catalyst that will unlock a lot of liquidity and innovation. So here's the headline: U.S. lawmakers expect to address market structure markup in January. So there's multiple phases to getting this bill passed and eventually, going to Donald Trump for signatures. It has to go through the markup and approvals for discussion and, the government process essentially. But according to reports and people familiar with the matter, the banking committee could hold a markup for the Responsible Financial Innovation Act during the second week of January. The event would mark progress on advancing legislation that has been slowed by Democratic lawmakers' concerns over decentralized finance and the longest U.S. government shutdown in history. So let's see. Let's see what happens. We got quite a few bills here. Obviously, the major one being the market structure, but I do believe that they're going to try to get this done. So this would be a major catalyst, and I've been saying it nonstop. I don't believe the market makers are going to leave this type of event on the table, which would be a major buy the rumor, sell the news event, right? You have a massive run up. People are talking about how great this bill is going to be, and it will be great. But again, it's kind of the information for the masses, not the financially educated, as we've seen in the stock market and much more. Plus, you got crypto companies and AI companies and much more looking to go public. So I don't believe we're sliding down into this depths of a bear market. And that does not mean, by the way, that we won't see further corrections. So Bitcoin could dump literally at the beginning of January. It could literally dump down to 70 something $1,000, right? So just be prepared for that. But still be structurally sound to continue upwards. Now, folks, big news from Donald Trump. So Trump Media plans a one-to-one blockchain token rewards for shareholders. So Donald Trump continues his crypto endeavors here. Trump Media and Technology Group, operator of U.S. President Donald Trump's Truth Social, said Wednesday it plans to roll out a blockchain token for shareholders that entitles them to perks and rewards. This is interesting. The DJT token will be launched in collaboration with crypto exchange Crypto.com, and the distribution to existing shareholders set at a 1-to-1 ratio or one token per share owned, according to an announcement from the company. The token may include rewards and perks for DJT shareholders, including discounts on the Truth Social platform, the Truth Plus media streaming platform, and prediction market Truth Predict. However, the token is not a tokenized stock and does not entitle holders to shareholder rights or a claim on the company's future earnings, Trump Media confirmed to Cointelegraph. So the token showcases how blockchain technology can be paired with traditional asset classes to provide benefits to holders, but also highlights how tokenized equity products do not necessarily grant the same rights as ownership of the underlying asset. So folks, let's peel back the onion here. There's many layers to it. On one hand, this is great. It shows adoption. It shows the power of blockchain and how that can be used in different ways and reward people for different activities as part of different ecosystems and so on and so forth, right? Network effects playing out here. On the other hand, this is something I wish Donald Trump would stay away from. I'm not saying his kids can't be involved in crypto and do all these things, but the problem is it just muddies the water, especially as we're trying to get market structure passed. And we know the Democrats are looking for anything to say, hey, we don't want to do this because it's going to benefit Trump. So I wish Trump would hold off on these things. And, many of you know I'm not a fan of the meme coin. And, I tell it like it is, guys. I don't hold back. I don't have a secret agenda. Just I'm going to be real with you guys. I wish, even if it was a Democrat president or whoever, don't do stuff like this. This is not helpful. So I think it's just bad optics. But again, there's two sides to the coin. Again, I'm looking at it, it's like, wow, this is pretty amazing from an adoption standpoint. But on the other hand, come on, man, you're the president. We're trying to get crypto market structure passed here. We don't need further roadblocks and hiccups in the system. So that's my take on it. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but it just, a lot of this is just bad optics. I don't think they're trying to do anything bad, but it's just the perception and the optics is just horrible, right? So let's see. Hopefully this does not delay us further with that crypto market structure bill. In addition, speaking of Trump, wallets tied to the Trump meme coin, once again, which I'm not a fan of, the meme coin team pulled $94 million in USDC stablecoin to Coinbase in December. So some on-chain data showing some movement here. So on-chain analysts tracking the official Trump meme coin on Solana have flagged large transfers from wallets labeled as parts of the official Trump meme cluster, moving about 94 million in USDC from the Trump meme coin liquidity pools over the past month. The most recent movement, highlighted by blockchain data platform Arkham, involved 33 million USDC being withdrawn from liquidity on Tuesday and sent to an entity labeled Fireblocks, which then routed funds to wallets labeled as belonging to Coinbase. Public Solana records on SolScan corroborate the large USDC outflows from Trump Link wallets. So again, bad optics here. But again, as I said before, I believe Trump is a net positive, right? Things have completely changed with the regulatory agencies, the SEC, specifically the CFTC as well, and ending some of Operation Choke Point 2.0, even though the banks are trying to do another version of it. But overall, we are in a better environment. But I'm hoping eventually all that leads in 2026 to a massive bull market, because if it doesn't, then despite the clarity and the movement of legislation and the attack being, put to bed from regulatory agencies, the price is not there. And that would really suck. So let's hope, guys, things turn the corner in 2026. And I believe they will, because markets are cyclical. And I believe that the liquidity cycle, again, disrupted by the tariff situation as well as even the government shutdown, right? But I believe liquidity will start to flow back in and markets will start to move. And again, I'm leaning towards the probability of new all-time highs in 2026. Okay, quick word from our sponsor, and that is Propy. Propy is leading the charge with putting real estate on chain. Folks, you can buy and sell real estate on Propy's platform using cryptos. If you want to sell your house for Bitcoin or buy a house for Bitcoin, you can do that with Propy, and the platform is powered by blockchain and AI. So I've been an investor in the Propy token since 2018. I discovered them around that time, and I'm like, wait a minute. If blockchain is going to be adopted by different industries, real estate is primed to be disrupted by blockchain technology. So Propy, they've been putting deeds on chain. They've created NFTs for properties. They've been around since 2017. They've facilitated over $5 billion in deals, and they use Coinbase for the escrow service, the crypto escrow service for the buying and selling. And billionaire investor Tim Draper is an investor in this company. He's very bullish. He has been for a long time. So once again, Propy is doing some amazing things. They are ahead of the curve here. And we know the world's largest asset class, real estate, is going on chain, folks. All assets will. And even the buying and selling process and all the intricacies of real estate and mortgages and so forth, it's going to be on the blockchain. And Propy is the leader here. So folks, if you'd like to learn more about Propy, go to propy.com. Link will be in the description. Okay, look at this news. Digital ID, CBDCs risk turning U.S. into a surveillance state, according to U.S. Representative Warren Davidson. Now, Warren Davidson has been a big champion for crypto for many years, going back to like 2017, guys. And I interviewed him, even Ron Hammond, who used to be a frequent guest on this podcast when he was at the Blockchain Association, was working with him to put legislation through. I remember they crafted the Token Taxonomy Act. That's how early they were, right? Before all of these things that we are seeing this year. So I absolutely value his perspective on the markets. And, he's highlighting that potentially the Genius Act, the stablecoin bill, it could enable a wholesale version of a US dollar central bank digital currency, or a CBDC, that could be used for surveillance, coercion, and control. He also fears a digital ID system will be rolled out that forces Americans to get government permission to use their own money. He says, do not be deceived. We need to reject this globalist surveillance state and return to the first principles, he added, reminding his followers that Bitcoin's original promise was less than about being an illiquid inflation hedge asset and more about being permissionless peer-to-peer payment system. Now, one of the things I highlighted to you guys, I think within the past 4 weeks, is that the anti-CBDC bill, which was supposed to be passed with the Defense Act, did not get included. That news is not making as much headlines as it should have. So, that bill was put forth by guys like Tom Emmer and others. It didn't make it through, guys. Doesn't mean it won't ever be passed, but that is a roadblock. And it looks like someone is trying to roadblock that. And it could be people at the Fed, the banks and so forth, they want this. They want that wholesale CBDC. And one of the things I've been highlighting to you guys and is that what Chris Giancarlo, who was, founder of the Digital Dollar Project, was telling us for years, and that is the same concerns people have about CBDCs, they should also have about stablecoins. Because if the stablecoins are being plugged in or owned by the banks or plugged into the treasury, the same type of thing can be done, with programmability and surveillance and so forth. So we got some work to do here. And we're going to have to see how things develop. Could the anti-CBDC bill still get passed in 2026? I'm going to be asking people in DC. I'm going to be bringing more members of Congress on the podcast to talk to them about this. I'll probably bring back Warren Davidson to talk about what the hell is going on here. So even Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene said she voted no to the Genius Act, arguing it hands powers over to the banks while opening a backdoor for a CBDC. So we're going to have to see how things play out here, guys. And I'm going to try to get some answers for you all. But this is something to keep an eye on because we know the banks are lobbying hard right now to change things in the Genius Act. They don't like that you're getting yield, of course, on crypto exchanges like Uphold and Coinbase, and that you can earn a higher rate of return on staking, stablecoin yield versus what they're giving you in your checking or savings accounts, right? So we got to watch this closely. Now, speaking of CBDCs, look at this. India's central bank urges countries to prioritize CBDCs over stablecoins. So we got to be vigilant here, folks. We got to be vigilant. Look, I live in the U.S., so I can only speak for the U.S. Those of you listening across the world, you got to watch out for this, right? And some of you may not care, but personally, I do. And I think about my daughter as well, as she grows up and what world she's going to be in. So I think we got to fight to make sure our rights are not trampled on. So I think we're going to see a lot of different central banks push for CBDCs. It looks like the CBDC movement is building momentum again. So the Reserve Bank of India has urged countries to focus on central bank digital currencies over privately issued stablecoins, citing concerns about financial stability. In its December financial stability report released on Wednesday, the RBI argued that CBDCs preserve the singleness of money and the integrity of the financial system and should remain as the ultimate settlement asset and the anchor for trust in money. And one of the things the article gives context on is that so far, the CBDCs that have been successfully launched around the world includes Nigeria, Bahamas, and Jamaica. But China, would argue China's CBDC, the digital yuan, that one is pretty big, and they're trying to, do loans and interest on that now. So we got to watch out, guys. The movement that was happening, years ago, where people were like, yeah, that's it, we're not going to have a CBDC here, and we're going to put this to bed, starting to pop up again. So I will continue to bring folks on the podcast to talk to them about it, and we can monitor this accordingly. All right, folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Be sure to support the podcast by subscribing to my free email newsletter. I'll be doing a full write-up on Friday, so you don't want to miss that write-up. Check out my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital. Grab a copy and check out my course at mycryptocourse.com. Folks, thank you for tuning in. Wishing you all a happy new year. It's probably the new year already for you, many of you watching and listening. And wishing you a happy, healthy, and prosperous year for you and your family. And, may you have good fortune, and may the markets bring us some new higher highs and higher prices and a blow off top, and we make some really nice returns. All right, folks, I'll catch you all in the next one.